Anthony R. Pratkanis, Age of Propaganda, the Everyday Use and Abuse of Persuasion. In the modern age, we are constantly bombarded with persuasive messages and propaganda, aimed to sway our decisions and opinions. The book Age of Propaganda, The Everyday Use and Abuse of Persuasion by Anthony R. Pratkanis dives deep into the world of persuasion and propaganda we encounter every day. It examines persuasion techniques, such as presenting an argument and counterargument while disproving the latter, using the central root of information processing. The book also distinguishes between central persuasion and propaganda, with the latter using attractive packaging and distractions to ensure messages are accepted without deeper consideration. Through exploring various contexts, including cults, politics, and advertising, this book will enlighten you on the tactics used by persuaders and propagandists and their far-reaching consequences.
The Power of Persuasion. Persuasion plays a pivotal role in shaping our decisions, and when used responsibly, it can lead to informed and educated choices. Through presenting arguments and counterarguments, persuaders allow individuals to weigh the strengths and weaknesses of different positions. This approach, called the central root of information processing, relies on detailed and fact-based discussions that engage mental faculties to foster understanding and rational decision-making. People persuaded through this route thoroughly evaluate the messages they receive and actively participate in the process. As we continue to explore persuasive techniques, we'll also uncover propaganda, an entirely different and less ethical approach to swaying opinions. The sneaky power of propaganda. Propaganda preys on our vulnerabilities by disguising its intentions and delivering messages in attractive packages to influence us without our knowledge. By using the peripheral route to transfer information, it distracts the consumer, preventing them from focusing on the real message. Consequently, one can unknowingly fall for sophisticated advertising tactics that bury the facts beneath eye-catching visuals and catchy jingles, leading to irrational decision-making. Unlike genuine persuasion, propaganda aims to inhibit targets' ability to maintain their own opinions. It stealthily influences by disguising messages in captivating ways, ensuring consumers don't focus on the true content. Utilizing positive language and appealing framing, propaganda distracts potential buyers from questioning the accuracy of statements. A classic example is the inclination to purchase 75% lean ground beef instead of recognizing it as 25% fat. Gas stations also deceive customers with a cash discount that simply sidesteps credit card surcharges. Persuasion relies on the central route of information transfer. However, propaganda cleverly exploits the peripheral route, banking on consumers' inability to concentrate on the actual message. Take advertisers as an example, their explanations for choosing a product usually crumble under scrutiny. In response, they bombard customers with sensory stimuli, music, rapid scene changes, and vibrant colors, impairing their ability to evaluate the information quality. Astoundingly, ads remain effective even if viewers only half-watch them during TV breaks. People may think that not paying full attention to advertisements grants them immunity, but catchy jingles and visuals still occupy their minds, influencing product choices later. Thus, individuals may select a specific brand without any rational reasoning. Ultimately, failing to concentrate on listening equates to failing in active filtering. Consequently, unexpected influences slip past our conscious minds and impact our decision-making process through the powerful and surreptitious grasp of propaganda. Dazzling deceit, propaganda tactics. Propaganda, an art of deception, primarily employs 4 stratagems of influence. The first 2 are source credibility and message manipulation. By utilizing trusted, attractive public figures, propagandists dazzle audiences, directing their focus on the messenger rather than the information being shared. For example, admired athletes endorsing breakfast cereals draw people to make purchase decisions without questioning the actual health benefits of the product. The second strategy involves purposely misleading people through the message itself. Propagandists craft statements that appear convincing, while obscuring mediocrity in reality. A common example found in aspirin advertisements is the assertion that a particular brand works faster, however, neglecting to mention it isn't any slower than others. Consequently, people believe they're getting a superior product, making them willing to pay more for an item that's essentially no different than its competitors. Prepersuasion and emotional influence. Prepersuasion and emotions are two powerful stratagems of influence that can significantly impact people's mindset and decision-making. Prepersuasion creates vulnerability, while emotional arousal can lead to impulsive decisions. Politicians and businesses are known to use these techniques to gain support and boost sales, respectively. Understanding these tactics can help us better comprehend human behavior and the impact of external influences on our decisions. Prepersuasion refers to creating vulnerability in a target audience by setting a specific mindset. For example, TV violence creates a false sense of danger, leading politicians to shift focus towards crime and away from pressing issues like economic disparities. These politicians amplify fear to gain public support for programs that promise crime reduction and safer communities, despite the real threat level being much lower than represented. Similarly, gun companies exploit the public sense of fear perpetuated by mass media to market their products as essential self-defense tools. These companies experience increased sales as people feel they need firearms to protect themselves from perceived threats around them. On the other hand, emotional influences drive individuals to make hasty decisions without considering the consequences. A study conducted by Merrill Carlsmith and Alan Gross highlights this phenomenon. Participants who believed they were delivering electric shocks to others felt strong emotions and were 3 times more likely to volunteer for a social cause afterward. The experiment demonstrates that emotion often overpowers rational thinking, leading to impulsive decision-making. Both prepersuasion and emotions are often employed by influencers, politicians, and businesses to manipulate and sway public opinion and behavior. Recognizing these persuasive techniques can help us make more reasoned decisions and understand the underlying factors that may be affecting our choices. Drowning in shallow news. In today's message-rich environment, an overload of generalized information leads to a tendency for laziness and avoidance of in-depth scrutiny. Mass media fuels this addiction to entertainment by providing shallow, simplified news tailored to cater to the general public's minimal mental effort. Consequently, significant stories detailing political strategies and economic processes are overlooked in favor of sensationalist reports. This shallow media culture has also enabled politicians to deliver vague, oversimplified sound bites without being held accountable for their meaning or implementation. Ultimately, this situation allows public figures to capitalize on the absence of critical thinking, obfuscating the truth, and preventing a deeper understanding of critical issues. The modern world is flooded with messages, leaving people with little time or inclination to delve into the details. This constant bombardment of information reinforces our innate predisposition toward mental laziness and unwillingness to scrutinize what we're exposed to. Mass media plays a significant role in feeding our entertainment addiction, turning even vital news into a sensationalized spectacle. As a result, intricate stories about politics or economics get brushed aside in favor of attention-grabbing headlines about crime, scandal, or terrorism. Such a shallow media environment leaves many unprepared and out of practice when it comes to understanding and dissecting complex arguments. Instead, people prefer to switch channels or skim articles to avoid confronting often unsettling realities. In catering to this audience demand for easily digestible content, media outlets deliver grossly oversimplified messages. Political statements, in particular, are reduced to catchy sound bites that may appear compelling but lack substance or clarity. This superficiality shields politicians from having to provide in-depth explanations for their proposed policies and actions. For example, during his 1968 presidential campaign, former U.S. President Richard Nixon claimed he would achieve honorable peace through the Vietnam War. However, he never had to elaborate on the meaning of honorable peace, leaving it open to vastly different interpretations. Consequently, voters with divergent ideologies supported Nixon due to their individual assumptions about his ambiguous message. Such a phenomenon highlights the dangers of simplification in our media landscape and the need for a deeper examination of the information we consume. Manipulating human nature. As social and rational creatures, humans often fall prey to manipulation by propagandists. People tend to justify their actions, a pattern frequently observed in smokers, who rationalized their unhealthy habit. Tobacco companies benefit greatly from this behavior, as once a person feels the need to defend their actions, breaking free from the addiction becomes more challenging. However, propagandists exploit not only the rationalizing nature of humans but also their social aspect. The Granfalun technique is one such example, where a group is created with a strong sense of camaraderie for its members while excluding and isolating others. This technique allows propagandists to control groups, leveraging the human fear of loneliness and the dread of being wrong. As inherently social and logical beings, human nature can be manipulated by various techniques. One manner in which individuals can be influenced is by exploiting their ability to rationalize their habits or decisions. Smokers, for example, devise endless reasons to maintain their harmful habit, such as fearing social isolation or desiring a short, pleasurable life over a long, miserable one. Tobacco companies don't have to work very hard to retain customers, they just need to ensure that individuals are addicted, and the customers will rationalize the habit themselves. Manipulating the social nature of humans is also a powerful tool for propagandists, often utilizing the Granfalun technique. This method involves creating a group with a robust sense of camaraderie, while excluding and alienating others. Talk radio host Rush Limbaugh employed this tactic, referring to his supporters as ditto heads, emphasizing how they agreed with everything he said. He would then ridicule and insult others, especially liberals and minority groups. By identifying as members of their group and vehemently defending it from criticism, these ditto heads reinforced their loyalty. Leveraging both the rationalizing and social aspects of human nature, the Granfalun technique and other manipulative strategies prey on the human fear of loneliness and the apprehension of being incorrect. In doing so, they enable propagandists to control individuals and groups more efficiently. Propaganda's grip on war. Propaganda has been used throughout history to influence public opinion, particularly in times of war. By manipulating information and creating fear, propaganda allows politicians to rationalize and justify brutal military campaigns, as seen in the U.S. invasion of Iraq, Nazi Germany, and the Vietnam War. Through techniques like Granfaluning, governments can identify clear enemies, strengthen public resolve, and eliminate dissenting voices. In wartime, politicians often use propaganda as a means to galvanize public support for aggressive military actions. This manipulation relies on a potent mix of rationalization and fear to control public opinion and persuade soldiers to fight. The U.S. invasion of Iraq provides a striking example of this phenomenon. The war was presented as a rational, necessary step to overpower a tyrant, Saddam Hussein, who was likened to Hitler. This framing induced fear that inaction would allow Hussein to become a direct threat to the United States. Simultaneously, the American public was led to believe their actions were supportive of the Iraqi people, liberating them from this dangerous dictator. This deceptive narrative successfully minimized attention towards civilian casualties and silenced criticism of U.S. military intervention. Nazi Germany aptly displayed the power of Granfaluning, a technique used to create a clear enemy and fortify public determination against them. The Nazis vilified Jewish people, portraying them as greedy and physically distinct from the ideal Aryan. This enabled the regime to single out individuals, fostering discrimination and social division. The Vietnam War, too, showcases the perilous consequences of extreme rationalization. Thousands of American lives were lost as the U.S. refused to concede defeat, driven by the fear of admitting a mistake. This intransigence pushed the nation into irrational behavior, causing the war's aims to become increasingly ambiguous. Ultimately, victory at any cost emerged as the sole objective, despite the tremendous human toll. In each case, propaganda's powerful grip on public consciousness demonstrates its capacity to drive societies to support war and commit immeasurable acts of brutality. Cults' subtle manipulation techniques. Contrary to popular belief, cults don't employ witchcraft to brainwash people, they use manipulation techniques quite similar to other propaganda groups but with different names. Cults primarily rely on three tactics: reciprocity, distraction, and self-sell. Firstly, they exploit the human tendency to reciprocate kind gestures, making people feel indebted for even the smallest kindness. Secondly, they use distraction to divert attention away from their true purpose. Lastly, the self-sell aspect involves encouraging new recruits to find other potential followers using the same tactics, establishing a deep-rooted cult mindset. Cults also tend to isolate their members from their family, friends, and the outside world, fostering a complete dependence on the leader. This can result in members getting trapped in a rationalization spiral and performing extreme actions, including death, to justify their commitment. Resist propaganda's influence. The bombardment of propaganda from politicians, advertisers, and mass media can easily lead to frustration and complacency. However, there are ways to make a positive impact on this situation. By educating yourself and your children about how propaganda functions and challenging its messaging, you can cultivate analytical thinking and encourage the central persuasion path. Additionally, holding politicians and companies accountable for their claims fosters a culture that values facts and honesty. Every day, we're surrounded by an overwhelming amount of propaganda from politicians, advertisers, and mass media. This flood of information instills disillusionment, tricking people into believing they're immune to its effects. Yet, positive change is possible if we take the initiative to protect ourselves from manipulation. Firstly, it's essential to teach yourself and your children about propaganda's workings. Children are particularly vulnerable, as they encounter targeted ads for toys and fast food while watching cartoons and educational programming. Propaganda steers children away from the central persuasion path of argument and analysis, favoring peripheral persuasion from a young age. To counter this, challenge kids to question the rationale behind their beliefs, encouraging deeper thinking that advertisers struggle to influence. Moreover, confronting politicians and companies directly about their claims can be an effective weapon against propaganda. Many people choose to disengage from politics or refuse to vote because of their dissatisfaction with the system. However, writing to politicians and media outlets demanding fact-based support for their claims and in-depth coverage of essential issues empowers a culture of truth-seeking. When these entities recognize that their audience is more likely to be persuaded by honest facts, they'll be forced to alter their tactics. Finally, question companies about their claims regarding their products. Their response can be quite revealing. If their reply sidesteps your question or sends more advertisements, consider taking your business elsewhere and support organizations that prioritize honesty and transparency. Together, we can fight propaganda by nurturing critical thinking, ensuring accountability among politicians and companies, and demanding fact-based information and honest communication practices.
In conclusion, Age of Propaganda highlights the pervasive influence of persuasion and propaganda in our modern world. It enlightens readers on the techniques and principles used by persuaders and propagandists alike to manipulate the public for their benefit. By understanding how these techniques work, we can better equip ourselves to recognize and challenge manipulative messages we encounter daily. This book emphasizes the importance of education and awareness about propaganda and its strategies, encouraging readers to critically evaluate the information they are presented with and not easily fall prey to hidden agendas. Developing such skills is of utmost importance to ensure a more informed and resistant audience to the manipulative forces prevalent in today's society.